Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Week 6 waiver wire targets. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about who you should be able to replace this week, considering the bye weeks to the Lions and the New Orleans Saints coming up in Week 6 of the regular season. Also, with all the injury news that came out earlier this week and some a little bit today that will be affecting many fantasy squads going forward. I have all the news and waiver wire targets for Week 6 of the regular season. Now, I'm also going to be talking about a little bit of Week 5 and the overview, the top performers at each position, and how that will continue to progress throughout the regular season. And I'm also going to be going through an overview of each single game from Week 5, but that'll be later on in the video. But first, before we begin, I just want to go ahead and address this. We've hit it, people. We've done it, ladies and gentlemen. 2,500 subscribers. It's absolutely insane. I mean, we did it. I don't get it. How is this possible? Somebody explain this to me. I mean, we were literally at a couple hundred, if I swear. Just like a couple months ago, we were at a couple hundred, and then now we're sitting at 2,500. And it's crazy. Oh my God, it's two Andrews. Well, okay. Yeah, we can't have two Andrews. That would be too much. That's chaos, people. But anyway, I want to thank all of you. Honestly, bottom of my heart. It's incredible how we've been able to grow as a channel, as a community, keep supporting each other, keep answering each other's questions. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, it's incredible. Thank you very much. And let's get right into the waiver wire, shall we? All right. So, hey, how's it going? All right. I'm feeling good. It's Monday, but we got through Monday. And Drew Brees just broke that record. I just saw it before halftime, and he's looking good. And how about Mark Ingram, huh? Mark Ingram with 2 rushing touchdowns doesn't have more than 50 yards, but he's the goal line back. It is what it is. I mean, it's unfortunate for Alvin Kamara owners, but it's what we expected to happen and what I've been telling you guys for the last couple weeks. Let's talk about waiver wire quarterbacks going into this week. As I mentioned before, the Saints and the Lions will be on bye week going into Week 6 of the regular season. Now, with Matthew Stafford and Drew Brees out, there's going to be potential for you to go pick up a quarterback. Now, who is exactly that quarterback you should be aiming for? Depending on how big your league is, whether it's a 16 team, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, it really depends, right? But for those of you who play in a 12 team plus, this is probably 12-10 team. This is a better idea for you guys, okay? As of right now, this past week, I said don't start Russell Wilson. I said he was going to be a garbage can, and guess what? Every time, every single week, all right, in Week 1 and this past week in Week 5, every time I say Russell Wilson is going to be bad, guess what happens? Russell Wilson pops off and puts it in my face. I swear he does it on purpose, people. I'm not kidding. So from now on, okay, just wait for the quarterback video. I'm going to shit on Russell Wilson every single week. And what does that mean? We're going to start him every single week. Did you hear me? We're going to start him every single week as I progressively shit on him so that maybe, how you doing? You get it? Okay. So Russell Wilson, if you dropped him, maybe it's a good idea to go pick him back up, considering they have a decent matchup this coming week. And that run game is absolutely ridiculous for the Seahawks. So that's just setting up everything. I'm sorry. When I continuously say he's bad, all right, and then he plays like garbage, but then the 1 week or the 2 weeks I've said sit him, the guy he does it. Anyway, we're moving on. Jameis Winston. Anyway, Russell Wilson against the Raiders, not a bad pickup if he's sitting on your waivers. We'll see. Jameis Winston against the Falcons. He's going to get the start. And to be honest, this Falcons defense is not great at all. We've known that. The Steelers proved it even more than we honestly knew. Goodness gracious. I think there is no Ryan Fitzmagic, but Jameis Winston has the pieces surrounding him. He has the offensive line. He's got the weapons with Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, Chris Godwin, Cameron Brate, which we'll go over a little bit later. There's a bug in my room. Oh my God, I smacked it across the room. Whew. Lightning speed. I think Jameis Winston is a great pickup if you didn't already pick him up last week when I was telling people to do so. this week against the Falcons. Great matchup. Rest of the season, I like Jameis Winston as well. He's my second suggestion. Number 3, we have Baker Mayfield. How about that? Oh, man. Okay, so I'm thinking off the top of my head, let's say you play in a 12-team league, and each team has 2 quarterbacks on it, okay? 2 minimum, all right? I'm going for these players specifically because what Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota, and Joe Flacco did this past week is embarrassing, right? They were so bad that that's the last time I'll mention their names. On this episode, that is the last time I'll mention their names. You'll be lucky to hear their names out of my mouth again. I had a feeling they were going to be good, but by all means, they were absolutely awful, and that's welcome to fantasy football. Whew. Oh man, it was really bad. It was just whew. Anyway, Baker Mayfield against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, we thought that other bum quarterback from Oakland was going to be able to put some points on the Chargers. Now, that wasn't the case. But I think Baker Mayfield going into Week 6, as he continues to progress as a quarterback, he hasn't looked bad. Turned it over a couple in, 2 weeks ago? Like 4 times? No big deal. To be honest, they had a pretty tough matchup this last week against the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Chargers are a much lighter defense, all things considered. I like Baker Mayfield as a pickup and play if you are, dealing with a bye week apocalypse and you have a lot of Lions and perhaps maybe Drew Brees. If you play in a 2-quarterback league, someone's already rostered this guy. I know in my 2 quarterback leagues, dude's already starting in some teams. So as of right now, I think Baker has a good opportunity to be a waiver wire pickup this week and be pretty productive. So he's my 3rd suggestion. My 4th, Mitch Trubisky coming off the bye. The last time we saw Trub, the dude threw for 6 touchdowns. Okay? And there is a possibility that he can come out and do that again against the Dolphins defense, against the Dolphins team that, as of the last 2 weeks, have been a train wreck. They were up 17-0 yesterday, and they threw the lead and threw the game. Literally, they threw the game. Ryan Tannehill threw the game away, and congratulations. Now you're 3-2. They were looking all high and mighty, but how about that? So Mitchell Trubisky, maybe he's on fire. Maybe there's an opportunity for him to, do well against the Dolphins. I think that there is a potential, but it's going to be in Florida, which is already a disadvantage for Trubisky. I think he'll be decent. I don't think you're going to get 6 touchdowns out of him. 2 touchdowns would be a sweet number. As of right now, I like him. As of right now, he's trending upward, right? We saw his production 2 weeks ago. There's a potential that he's okay, but he's just a suggestion. I obviously like Baker Winston and Russell Wilson, if he's available, way more than him. He's just a kind of, last second, maybe you don't have any other options kind of pick. All right, Sam Darnold. My goodness. Okay, so let me pull up these stats real quick, because Sam Darnold, they put up 34 points on a Denver defense because the running game, we'll get into that a little bit later, but the running game had over 300 yards rushing. But Sam Darnold on 10 for 22 passing, had 3 touchdown passes, and not even over 200 yards passing. Oh my goodness. He threw less than 50% and was still fantasy relevant. This coming week, they're going to play against the Colts. The Colts defense, as we know, is not fantastic. I think Sam Darnold is another possibility for a good starting quarterback this coming week. You just have to understand that you're starting a rookie and that he's not going to be as consistent as you want him to be. He's pretty much, I wouldn't say he's pretty much Blake Bortles, because Blake Bortles is his own monster, right? Throwing 5 interceptions week in and week out. It's a flip of the coin, honestly. I'm talking about Sam Darnold, but we'll get into Blake Bortles a little bit later. But as of right now, there's a possibility that Sam Darnold comes out and he's terrible, right? We don't know that. Maybe he throws 4 picks. From what we've seen thus far this season, Sam Darnold isn't going to just come out and throw 4 picks. I like where this team is going as of right now. I think against the Colts, he has a good opportunity, especially with Andrew Luck being able to score whenever he wants and T.Y. Hilton coming back. I think there's going to be an opportunity for Sam Darnold to have to throw the ball in order to get his team back into this game. So I like him this week. He's my last quarterback waiver wire target. Okay, let's talk about the real money position, shall we? The thing we've been all waiting for, honestly. Quarterbacks, okay, we get it, right? Maybe you have a backup on the bench, great. Somehow you have Kirk Cousins on your bench, put him in there, pick up the W this week, you'll be fine, right? But this is where, Matt, this is literally this kind of a week wins and loses you the league, okay? Wendell Smallwood, please, listen, with J.J., who's just been recently put on the injured reserve, right? He's not coming back for the rest of the season, okay? There are a couple players that you need to understand could have really good potential, right? Darren Sproles, I don't trust in him, okay? But it's either Wendell Smallwood or Corey Clement. Now, Corey Clement has been a little banged up as of the last couple weeks. He was active this past week, but didn't play a single snap, just like Lamar Miller. They had him sitting in the shadows just in case because they knew J.J. was banged up. Obviously, J.J.'s tires fell off, and he's out. He's done. So going forward, it's going to be the Wendell Smallwood show. Now, do you have the fab available for him? Or, do you have the, aka, do you have the waiver spot at the top of the list? I don't know how your leagues work. Some leagues work off of the worst possible record has the number one waiver pickup. You guys sometimes play on fab. Sometimes you do the rolling list where if you use a waiver spot, you go to the back of the line and everybody keeps moving forward. Stuff like that, right? But as of right now, Wendell Smallwood, rest of season, he is a game changer. He is a guy you need to have on your roster. I mean, spend the fab, people. Spend it. Goodness. And Corey Clement, if you put in a couple dollars here and there for him, that is not a bad decision either. I think Corey Clement maybe be able to get healthy rest of season. Could also contribute. We saw him contribute earlier on in the season. He was obviously preferred by the coaches over Wendell Smallwood. That's why he was given early carries throughout the season. When he comes back, he will also be relevant. So I'm not saying this is going to be a one-man show. There is a possibility that Clement comes. They have a two-headed monster in which they both contribute into this offense. I'm telling you guys, Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, should have had Clement out there, but I'm saying it enough. Hopefully you understand. These two guys, very important. Okay, now my second suggestion. These are two monsters. I mean, okay, I don't know if you guys saw it. DJ Fluker fully pancaked Ndamukong Suh like no other. Okay, I understand. Oh, maybe Ndamukong Suh tripped. He fell backwards. But I'm sorry, if Ndamukong Suh is getting pancaked by DJ Fluker, who honestly has been bouncing around teams since he was drafted to the Chargers. I think he went to the Giants and then he went to the Seahawks. He's been fantastic this year, playing guard for the Seattle Seahawks. Whew, this offensive line and these running backs have been incredible. Now, a funny thing too, where the heck is Rashad Penny? They literally drafted him to be this guy. They drafted him to be the workhorse back. Where has he been? What happens? I don't understand that. Sony Michel figured it out after a while. Maybe one of these two has to get hurt in order for Penny to figure it out. We'll see. But as of right now, Mike Davis, Chris Carson. I personally want Chris Carson more. Why? Because of his carries, man. He continues to get carries and carries and carries. And what? That's his second 100-yard rushing game this season. Against the Rams defense that I thought was going to be able to handle them. 19 rushes, 116 rushing yards, 6.1 yards average, Chris Carson. My goodness, right? Mike Davis also had himself a game, right? Had himself a game. Someone in the comments was like, put it on a t-shirt. Had himself a game. Hey, just wait, people. Just wait. 12 rushes, 68 yards, and a touchdown. They were both fantasy relevant. Now, going forward, I personally want Chris Carson more. Without a doubt. Why? Because of his usage. They're being able to use him and give him the ball more out of the backfield. There is a possibility. They both had the same amount of opportunity in the passing game. They're splitting carries, but Chris Carson is the go-to as of right now. I like him. I like Mike Davis still as a waiver wire target this coming week. My God, this week's waiver wire is so ridiculous, guys. Anyway, number 3. Nyheim Hines. Now, public statement, okay? I'm here to address it. I'm here. I'm in front of you. I will not avoid your questions. Ask away, okay? Andrew, why did you not believe in Nyheim Hines? Oh, great question. All right. I sat there for a good amount of time. Many of you in the comment section said, Andrew, what about Nyheim Hines this week? Nyheim Hines, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I talked about him before the season started. I said there is a potential. You can go find it. It's a rookie running back video. I probably have timestamps. I said I love this kid, okay? And I said it because of his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield because he used to be a wide receiver. Go find it. Maybe I should just link it in the description. I don't know. We'll see. But either way, I still, okay, after all that I pledged to him in the preseason, I didn't think that Nyheim Hines was going to be the #1 back against the New England Patriots this week. I understand what he did the week prior against the Houston Texans. Dude had himself a week, right? 2 touchdowns receiving, had 67 receiving yards plus, I think. I mean, he played well, right? He was used a lot, and he was efficient within his ability to stay on the field. Nyheim Hines going forward, my goodness. Listen, guys, I was left back, okay? You guys all got on the hype train. You're like, Andrew, get on. And I'm like, no. I'm waiting for Marlon Mack at the station. The train left, and Marlon Mack is still not here. I'm sorry, guys. I'll get the next train. I'll try to get back on, but I missed it. And that's my bad. Holy moly, Nyheim Hines. Like, just an absolute monster, especially in PPR standards. And I think in half-point PPR this past week, he had, 12.5 points? That's fantastic. Like, holy moly. I got left behind, guys. I'll try not to next time, but goodness, Nyheim Hines, pick him up this week. If he's still left, I don't know. Again, I was left behind. Number 4, we're going to talk about Alfred Morris. Okay, so Matt Brate, who, played well yesterday until he got injured, currently has an ankle sprain, high ankle sprain, which usually is going to probably hold him out 2 weeks tops. Honestly, he might just hold him out 1 week. Just depends what kind of painkillers they give this kid and how he's able to look during practice. Even if he practices, probably going to be limited. The way I see it, Alfred Morris going forward, going into week 6 of the regular season, is going to be the starting running back for the 49ers. What did he do when as soon as Matt Brate left the game, Matt Brate had 8 carries for 56 yards, right? He was looking fine, right? He was looking great. He had that receiving touchdown, bada boom, right? As soon as he left, Alfred Morris comes in the game, 18 carries, boom, 61 yards, 3 receptions, 30 yards. Bam, holy moly, it's 10 fantasy points right there, all right? And then, honestly, Alfred Morris doesn't look great. He doesn't look like a good football player like he used to. But it's undeniable that he's going to have the opportunity this week if Matt Brate is not going to play on Monday Night Football. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But Alfred Morris is a good option for those of you who own Matt Brate, or those of you who are just looking for a running back. Maybe you have someone on bye week this coming week. He's a good option. And the last 2 guys I want to talk about, but let's talk about Ronald Jones first. The last time we saw the Buccaneers, right? They were on a bye week this past week. The last time we saw the Buccaneers, Ronald Jones was getting snaps over good old Peyton Barber. Why? Because Peyton Barber has been a death trap thus far this season. He's been awful, right? He hasn't done anything. They've been passing the ball a lot, but they can't get the running game going at all. Ronald Jones, for I think the first two games of the season, maybe the first 3 games of the season, he was inactive. He wasn't even in a jersey, dressed to play. He was literally just sidelined. They told him, you're not playing this week. Boom, right? 3rd string running back. And the last time, as I said, we saw the where are we at here? The Buccaneers versus the Bears, right? It was a blowout to say the least. But Ronald Jones had 10 carries. Yes, he's a running back drafted out of USC. He's a guy that I've been talking about since the preseason. If all the running backs, Nyheim Hines and Ronald Jones were my top. I was literally screaming from the rooftops. I think Ronald Jones more than any of them, right? I think there's an opportunity. What James Conner was able to do against the Falcons, okay? I understand the Falcons, they're going to try to regroup and figure it out, right? You can't just keep getting embarrassed week after week. and just keep taking it. Grady Jarrett was out, the defensive tackle, all-pro. I mean, they just got manhandled up front. That Steelers offensive line is something else, right? When you have so many all-pro players there, you're going to get manhandled. But I think Ronald Jones, going throughout the regular season, as we continue, is going to be the starting running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't care about no Jaquiz Rodgers or Peyton Barber. It's going to be Ronald Jones' job to lose going forward. I like him as a waiver wire pickup this coming week. Another guy I want to mention really quickly before I end the running backs, because the running backs are super important, people, especially for this week. Alfred, goodness, what's his first name? Blue. I literally, oh my God. I literally played him in one of my leagues. Alfred Blue? Yeah, it's Alfred Blue. I don't know why I'm even questioning it. Yeah, Alfred Blue. Alfred Blue looked good on Sunday Night Football. He was way more efficient than anything Lamar Miller has done this season. If I'm the Texans, who's Lamar Miller? We're looking to trade him. Literally, that's what I'm thinking at this point. I'm looking to trade Lamar Miller. Try to get a 5th-round pick. Try to get a 6th-round pick. Get rid of him. Get rid of his contract. Get him out of here. Alfred Blue looks fantastic. In the passing game, in the run game. Yes, Lamar Miller is going to be healthy this week, but I think Alfred Blue should get this job. I honestly believe Alfred Blue deserves to get this running back job. Even with Donta Foreman coming back, Alfred Blue right now is the best running back in that backfield, just off of yesterday's performance against a decent defense. Just another guy to watch out for, guys. Anyway, let's move on to the wide receivers, shall we? We've been on them running backs for a while. I understand. It's just a big week. Okay, it's a big week. This is some of the game-changing waiver wire pickups going into it, right? All right, wide receivers. Keke Coutee. All right, people. That's the pronunciation. It's Cutie, I guess. We're going to go with it. I mean, he did it again. Second week in a row. The guy stepped up. I mentioned it 2 weeks ago that Deshaun Watson needs his 3rd wide receiver, right? He needs 3 top wide receivers. He didn't have a running back prior to Alfred Blue 7 up this past week. So he needed 3 threats, right? He obviously has Will Fuller with a deep ball. DeAndre Hopkins double spinning on people. Oh my God. That didn't happen. I forgot I was headphone hooked up. Whatever. Okay, regardless. I can't wait to watch that replay. Goodness gracious. As I was saying, he has DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller. Now he's got Cutie. That's absolutely just been a target monster as of late. Where are these? 11 receptions, 109 yards yesterday. Holy moly. Pick him up, guys. Pick him up. He's being used within this offense. That's against the Colts. That was against the Colts last week. My mistake. What did he do last night? Cutie, where are you at, buddy? 6 receptions, 51 yards, and a touchdown. Just as good as a week because of that 6-point touchdown. Okay, but anyway, sorry about that. He's getting the ball. He is getting the ball within this offense. But Alfred Blue, 8 receptions, 73 yards. It's over. I'm telling you, Lamar Miller's dead. He should not be the starting running back of this team. I don't care what they say. He has been so inefficient thus far. I know we're talking about wide receivers, but we're talking about the Texans right now. Alfred Blue should be the starting running back of that team. Okay, I'm done with the Alfred Blue stuff, okay? We're on the wide receivers. Keke Coutee going forward. Because what is... The production team messed up. They don't play the Dolphins this week. That is a mistake. I don't know what happened. I've completely fallen off the rails. Who do the Texans play? They play against the Bills this week. Goodness, the Bills. We'll get into that later. But anyway, they play against the Buffalo Bills, not the Dolphins. I don't know how that got to where it is. Anyway, Keke Coutee. Number 2, Mohamed Sanu. Mentioned him as one of my hidden gems. Dude popped off, had a touchdown. Looked better than the other receivers there. Honestly, the Falcons were inept this past week. And their entire scheme right now, I don't even know why they're using 3 running backs. Give the damn ball to Devontae Freeman. Period. I don't know. I don't understand. But Mohamed Sanu is going to continue to be relevant going forward. The targets are something you can't ignore, and the opportunities there. So Mohamed Sanu, another waiver wire guy. Number 3, Robby Anderson, a guy who earlier this season, maybe week 2, I completely shunned him off. And rightfully so. He is a guy that is a boom or bust player, but going against the Colts this week and having that performance yesterday, 100 plus receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns on 4 receptions, 5 targets. I mean, it's something you can't ignore, but I think if he's going to be able to do it again, it's probably against the Colts. Anunwa was completely MIA, missing in action, but those running backs, they were there. By the way, we were talking about running backs earlier. There's no way Isaiah Crowell or Bilal Powell is sitting on your waiver. There's no way. So we're not going to go into that. These Jets players, oh my goodness. Pierre Garcon versus the Packers this coming week. Pierre Garcon this past week with C.J. Beathard at quarterback. My goodness. Where did this come from? I thought Pierre Garcon was supposed to show up a couple weeks back. This dude had, 12 targets this past week? What? Double-digit targets for Pierre Garcon? You got to be kidding me. Like, it's actually ridiculous, but it's another thing you can't ignore. There's going to be opportunity here. The wide receiver pool is not as deep as the running back pool as of right now, but is another guy to mention and keep your eye on. Okay, Mr. Valdes-Scantling, okay? I mean, goodness gracious. If Cobb is out again, and so is Geronimo Allison, I doubt Geronimo's out again, but Valdes-Scantling is going to be another, and so is Equinami St. Brown, right? These guys with these long names, goodness, they played decently. They had good fantasy production, right? Especially with Scantling catching a touchdown in this past week's game versus the Lions. I mean, if you're attached to any point of Aaron Rodgers, you're going to have an opportunity to score. And I think going forward, he's probably the third wide receiver, considering Cobb's going to continue to be out and Geronimo Allison's probably going to come back this week. Another guy to keep your eye out on. All right, so let's talk about tight ends real quick. CJ Uzomah, guy that I thought it was going to be Tyler Kroft, because last year, majority of the season, it was Tyler Kroft back-to-back scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Uzomah's just, he's there. He's being pretty productive within this offense, and he's probably going to pick up the slack that Tyler Eifert is going to miss out on, unfortunately. God, Tyler Eifert, why? Anyway, moving on, Cameron Brate, a guy that's been on bye week this past week because of O.J. Howard's injury. Cameron Brate has an opportunity. He is Jameis Winston's favorite target. I will continue to say it. In the red zone, he will find Cameron Brate no matter what. Garbage time, first quarter, first play of the game, doesn't matter. He will find Cameron Brate. He will be relevant. Number 3, Greg Olsen. If he is not on a roster in your league, by all means, get him on your roster. He's coming back this week. If you're having tight end troubles, maybe you're not even having tight end troubles. He's a guy that can be relevant as the season progresses. Everybody last week against the Giants, on the Carolina Panthers team, everybody was feasting, right? What was it? Curtis Samuel scored a touchdown. DJ Moore had 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey had a touchdown. Funches was the only bum that didn't do anything. But anyway, Greg Olsen, if he's sitting on a waiver, go pick him up, guys. Number 4, Austin Hooper. Another guy, if you're struggling with the tight end position, dude had 12 targets as well this past week. That's something you can't ignore. My God. Austin Hooper. I don't know if Austin Hooper's the guy you should be targeting, but if the defense is clamping on Julio and Ridley and Sanu, he's going to check it down to Hooper, and just not a bad opportunity. Geoff Swaim, the last guy I want to mention, against the Jaguars this week. He was decent this past week. There are other tight ends, obviously, that you can be looking for, just like Evan Ingram, who could be coming back this week. Austin Seferian-Jenkins out for the season, IR. There are guys like Niles Paul on the Jacksonville Jaguars. There are other opportunities. There are other tight ends to look out for, but these are the guys that I thought probably gave you the best chance of scoring this coming week as a waiver wire pickup. So without further ado, I think we're going to start talking about the Week 5 performances, but that's pretty much been my thoughts on the waiver wire targets for Week 6 of the regular season. It's a big week. There is a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of points that were sitting on the waivers this past week. There's a lot of value that can shift the tides within your league You just got to be able to pick these guys up. And you got to be able to just hope to God you get them and everyone's asleep and not paying attention. All right, so I'm here to talk about Week 5 now. I'm going to give you my breakdown of the Week 5 performances this past week. And let's start it, shall we? No big deal. Let's get right into it. Aaron Rodgers, the top quarterback. This was one of the weeks, right? This was the first time when I was going through this list. This was the first time that we hadn't had a 50-point quarterback and 6-point per passing touchdown leagues in a couple of weeks, right? I mean, Trubisky, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, these guys have put up 50-point weeks, right? And I was thinking that we may have had another one this week. We didn't find it. But we found Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady at the top of the list, the 1 and 2 quarterbacks in the NFL, the GOATs, as you may call them. They played well, both of them, respectively. And there's nothing else to be said. Aaron Rodgers played a great game, even after all that took place. I mean, goodness gracious. He turned over the ball so many times in the first half. The Mason Crosby missed field goals on top of that, and still ended up to, have himself quite a good fantasy week. Tom Brady, I mean, with all of his weapons there, Michelle, White, Hogan, Edelman, Gronk, Dorsett, Cordero Patterson, Gordon. I mean, am I missing anybody? Dwayne Allen, maybe? I mean, goodness, there are so many weapons within this offense. I mean, I'm just waiting for them to, re-sign Danny Amendola. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. But other than that, I mean, Tom Brady, consistent. He's a great quarterback. Not surprised he's number 2 this past week. Number 3, Andrew Luck. No, I was not number 3 this past week. Unfortunately, guys, I tried my best. Couldn't get to number 3. But Andrew Luck is there with 28.6 points from Thursday Night Football. Happened to have himself a good garbage time within the last 2 quarters of that game. And it doesn't really matter because that's how fantasy football works. Mr. Blake Bortles' garbage time had himself some BS, but we'll go into that a little bit later. But Andrew Luck, I mean, even without T.Y. Hilton, Jack Doyle, a decent running game, they can't move the ball running the ball. Passing the ball out of the backfield, they're fine. But running the ball up the middle, they have nothing. They need Frank Gore back. And Andrew Luck needs to, I mean, they're forcing him to throw the ball almost 60 times a game. That's pure fantasy money, right? You want that. You don't want them to get a running back because honestly, you want Andrew Luck to continue to throw the ball. When it comes to winning games, you need that running back, but this doesn't matter, right? You want Andrew Luck to continue to have to throw the ball, continue to get fantasy points. Even finding guys like Swoop was the second string tight end that almost had 2 touchdowns the past week. Random guys like that, but they're still relevant because Andrew Luck makes them better. Anyway, number 4, Ben Roethlisberger had a decent week. Couple touchdowns on the ground to James Conner. Took away a little bit of production, but all things considered, had himself a good week. Got his wide receivers some fantasy value. Antonio Brown with a touchdown. Juju Smith with a touchdown. The tight ends for this team disappeared, but the running game was there. Ben Roethlisberger, number 4 this past week in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. The devil himself, Russell Wilson. I'm telling you, people, whenever I talk shit about this guy, he ends up putting up points. We'll see what happens in the quarterback video. You'll just wait and see. Whatever I say about this dude, just wait. But he had himself a good game. Got Tyler Lockett involved. Doug Baldwin missing in action. Had 1 catch for 1 yard. Where's Doug Baldwin, guys? Number 6, Phillip Rivers. I mean, Old Faithful, right? A guy that's going to continue to do it week in and week out. 25.36 points to 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. Case Keenum, right? Case Keenum? Whew. I don't know how he did it, but he found the end zone a couple times. Garbage time, that Demaryius Thomas touchdown, let me tell you. That's the goodest garbage time. Just look at the names that I'm about to talk about. Case Keenum, C.J. Beathard, Sam Darnold, and Eli Manning were all top 10 quarterbacks from this past week. Like, top 6, we're used to that. For years, we're used to that, right? But what is 7 through 10? What is that? Nobody starts these guys unless you play in a 2 QB league, okay? I play in 2 QB leagues, so I'm used to these guys having decent weeks, right? But goodness, if you don't play in a 2 QB league, you're thinking, maybe I should start looking at Beathard. Plays against, relax. I wouldn't put it that far, but if you're desperate, these are options, people. These are options. They produce. But, I mean, Eli Manning had 23 points. The dude, I think, threw three interceptions. I'm not mistaken. He turned over the ball a lot. Let me see this. Eli Manning, 2 interceptions. All right. Thought he was good. I swear. Every time on red zone, I looked away, came back, interception. I swear. But either way, these last 4 quarterbacks, Keenum, going forward, I mean, hopefully this passing game starts to pick up a little bit more. But, I mean, at least he gave the ball to Demaryius Thomas more, and he was littering Emmanuel Sanders with targets. I think he had 14 targets or something like that. C.J. Beathard had a decent game, right? A lot of garbage time, but he had himself a decent game. Sam Darnold, close. Sam Darnold, 10 completed passes, still had 24 fantasy points. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Eli Manning was relevant, even though Odell Beckham's a better quarterback on that team. Either way, let's talk about running backs. James Conner, 32.5 points. One of my starts of the week this past week. Goodness gracious. I told you guys. They needed to get him more acclimated within this offense. They needed to feed him the ball. Having 9 carries against the Baltimore Ravens is not enough, right? You can't do that. You can't just give your running back 9 carries. You never get him into a groove. You never get that defense tired, right? They never have to expect the run. What are they going to do? They're going to drop back and they're going to ruin Ben Roethlisberger. James Conner, I mean, goodness gracious. It's going to be hard to replace him even when Lev Bell comes back because he's so talented, right? I'm hearing stuff that it's going to be a running back by committee, right? These 2 guys are going to be used hand in hand. That's not a bad thing, right? Maybe they both get 15 points. You can start them both, but usually you'd get Lev Bell to put up 30 by himself. So, I don't know. As of right now, James Conner, good option. And maybe look to trade him. Had a pretty good week this week. Just saying. Number 2, Todd Gurley. Are we surprised? The dude scored 3 touchdowns again. 3 touchdowns. Okay, now, really quickly. This coming week, week 6, they play against the Denver Broncos. We know what Isaiah Crowell was able to do. I'm about to talk about it in a couple seconds. But Todd Gurley should be able to have himself a good-ass game. All right? But, again, it's Todd Gurley. What do we expect? He's going to be fantasy relevant all the time. It did hurt a lot of Jared Goff owners. That's the thing I mentioned in the comments. A lot of you asked, like, who's going to score more touchdowns, Cam Newton or Jared Goff, right? My first couple replies were, who do you think is going to get the touchdown stolen from them, right? Jared Goff, who's probably not going to run the ball into the end zone, or Cam Newton, who can probably pull it from Christian McCaffrey. Why CJ Anderson keeps popping in my head? That's why. I was like, what the heck? Christian McCaffrey and him running in, right? Then I kept telling people, go for Goff, go for Goff, go for Goff. Anyway, Todd Gurley could have had 4 touchdowns in this game. But either way, had 3. That's just how the Rams work. We're moving on. Isaiah Crowell. Dude had 200 yards rushing. I just don't understand it. Like, the week prior against the Jaguars, right? Had only 0 yards rushing. Had 0. He dropped the goose egg. And then he turns it around and has the game of his career, just torching in all things considered, a decent defense. How does this Denver Broncos defense get away from this? I don't honestly fire the coach. This is embarrassing. You're getting 300 yards rushing on you. This isn't a high school or college game. This is the NFL. We got grown men. Their livelihood depends on their performance, and they're getting 300 yards on top of them. I understand this offensive line for the Jets is good, but goodness gracious, we got at least, oh my God, Isaiah Crowell, people. Woo, baby. I don't know. I keep saying Bilal Powell is going to keep taking his job, but Bilal Powell played well too, right? Had himself a decent game, fantasy relevant. But Isaiah Crowell, unbelievable. Unbelievable this past week. Number 4, Saquon Barkley. Had himself some touchdowns. I think he had his first career touchdown this past week. That's what I heard on the red zone. It was like, for his first career touchdown. Okay, whatever. Had 2 touchdowns on top of it. He's going to continue to be the number 1 weapon for this offense. Odell Beckham, yes, he's going to be good, as he always is. Sometimes he has bad weeks. And I'm glad that he was able to figure it out and have himself a good one this past week. But Saquon Barkley, I mean, with this much improved offensive line, they cut Eric Flowers, people. They cut Eric Flowers, the demon himself. They chopped off his head. They let him go. Oh, bless. My God, that guy was so awful. But Saquon Barkley, fantastic. What a stud. Number 5, TJ Yeldon. What do we need Fournette for? I mean, Bortles is a mess, right? When you turn over the ball 5 times, figure it out, right? But as of right now, TJ Yeldon's, he's looking good. He's looking good to keep starting him. This coming week, Fournette has already been said to not be playing. So Yeldon's getting the start. Okay, number 6. I'm a little upset about this guy. As I mentioned before, Kenyon Drake is going to require, at least from my perspective, 4 good weeks before I think about doing anything with them. As in, like, pulling him off the bench. But as I mentioned, a lot of you were like, should I drop Kenyon Drake? I told you to leave him on your bench because I'd rather him on your bench than dropping 21 for another team, right? I said this last week. There he goes. As of right now, Kenyon Drake still got out-touched in the run game, right? Frank Gore with 12 carries, him with only 6. He only had 6 carries for them. But his receptions, 7 receptions, 69 yards and a touchdown. He was the leading receiver this past week because, to be honest, Kenny Stills, Devontae Adams, they don't exist within this offense. Receivers for the Dolphins, they're just, I don't know what Adam Gase is doing, but okay. But Kenyon Drake, still don't trust him. We'll get into it more with the running back rankings. He was practically a wide receiver this week, though, but running back rankings later on in the week. Maybe look to trade him, guys, honestly. David Johnson, number 7. He's going to be David Johnson. As soon as they change quarterback, I was calling it from a mile away. Change Bradford, he'll improve. There it is. Melvin Gordon, number 8, had 18 points in half-point PPR in the first half. Where do you go in the second half? Game script changed a little bit. They didn't need to use him. Boom. Number 9, Joe Mixon. Are we surprised? No. If Giamatti Bernard was able to produce the last couple weeks by himself, Joe Mixon was going to be able to do whatever he wanted. Had himself a good game. Fantasy-wise, James White, the last guy on the top 10 for the running backs. Dude, he is a PPR machine. Oh, my God. 10 receptions. He leads the Patriots in receiving. I mean, he's going to keep doing it, too. He's going to keep producing because he's honestly he's the Swiss Army knife of that offense. All right, the wide receivers of Week 5. Let's talk about them real quick. Odell Beckham Jr. Oh, my God, those Giants. How about that? Had himself a good week, to say the least. Passing touchdown, receiving touchdown, a boatload of yards. He's just a dynamic football player that is going to continue to find his way onto these top 10 lists because he's just that good. Hopefully he can do it more consistently, but I wouldn't be surprised if he turns a 29-point week into a followed up by a 12, 14-point week. Just how it is. Just depends on those touchdowns. Very contingent on those. Number 2, Robby Anderson that I mentioned before. 2 touchdowns, 100 yards on, if I'm not mistaken, I swear it was literally 3 receptions. Where are we at here? On literally 3 receptions. This is Nick Chubb of last week. 3 touches, 2 touchdowns. It's not going to happen. But I like his matchup this week, okay? Devontae Adams, number 4. Had him at number 9 in my rankings. I literally said he's only this low because of his injury. He will be higher if Geronimo Allison and Randall Cobb are out. I don't care. Literally, people, I do not care who is playing corner, okay? I do not care if it's Darius Slay. I do not care about Tre'Davious White. I do not care about Josh Norman, right? Xavier Woods. I literally do not care who's playing corner. These teams will find a way to get their best players the ball. I don't care who's playing corner, okay? I understand the idea or the thought process behind it. It makes a lot of sense, actually, right? This guy's a lockdown. He's been locking people down week after week. Don't trust it. I don't give a shit. These guys are going to continue to find the ball because, especially Devontae Adams of all people, right? With Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, he's going to be able to produce every single week. Had himself a fantastic game. Number 5, Adam Thielen. Oh my. He's matchup proof right here. Matchup proof. Guy's an absolute monster. What is that? I think that he's going to break the record eventually this season for most consecutive 100 receiving yard games. Did it again. He's on the streak. Number 6, Demaryius Thomas. Again, garbage time touchdown. But it's at least a positive light within this offense, right? Emmanuel Sanders had 9 catches for 72 yards. That's what we wanted. We wanted a lot of targets. I mentioned this last week. Demaryius Thomas found himself 5 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown. This is what we need. As fantasy owners, this is what we want. We want more value within these players that were just completely inconsistent and garbage. Finally, they found themselves. Maybe that's why Case Keenum was so good this week. He finally fed his receivers the ball. Number 7, Cooper Kupp. Goodness gracious, Cooper. As I've always said, he's Jared Goff's best friend. Continues to prove it. He is in concussion protocol with Brandon Cooks. As the week progresses, it's probably going to look towards Robert Woods to be the number 1 receiver within that offense. But Cooper Kupp, I mean, he's going to keep doing it. Number 8, Tyler Lockett had himself a fantastic game. I didn't think Tyler Lockett was going to be able to take the top off the defense. That is what he's known for, but I thought the Rams defense was a little bit better. Goodness gracious, had himself 18 points. Whew. I think he had only like 4 receptions, but it doesn't matter. It's fantasy football. He's going to continue to produce, I guess. Number 9, Kenny Golladay. More and more does he become the number 1 wide receiver. But it's always a coin toss, right? Like, one week, Kenny Golladay will be fine and actually play really well, just like he did, right? Then the next week is Golden Tate. Then the next week, it's Marvin Jones. And then you reset the formation. Boom, it's Golden Tate. Then it's Kenny G. Then it's Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, Kenny G. Every other week, somebody's scoring. I mean, every week, it's literally another guy that's having himself a game. Kenny G, bada boom, how you doing? DeAndre Hopkins, number 10 at the wide receiver position, week 5. Had himself a fantastic game. That double spin move almost knocked me out of my chair. The headset was flying. Either way. Let's talk about tight ends. Eric Ebron. What the... I mean, unbelievable performance. They didn't want to guard him for some reason. Dante Hightower didn't want to do anything. He just didn't want to play defense. He thought, whatever, doesn't matter. Eric Ebron had 2 touchdowns. That garbage time touchdown, though, won some of you some leagues, I'm telling you. Zach Ertz. If you watch the Vikings game, at the end of the game, the Vikings were playing 20 yards off, okay? They were literally, everyone except for the defensive line was playing 20 yards off. There were 6, I swear, okay, maybe I'm over-exaggerating, right? I like to do that. There were at least 4 consecutive passes to which they threw it to Zach Ertz, literally, boom, Zach Ertz, 15 yards, boom, 15 yards, 15 yards, 15-yard touchdown, right? I don't understand the logic behind that, but somebody won a week off that because he had himself literally some garbage time BS points. He had like 14 points on that one drive. Not even kidding. Anyway, number 3, Travis Kelce. A lot of you were telling me, should I play Travis Kelce? Should I play, a Cook or a Kittle this week or a Rudolph? Man, I told majority of you in the comment section, trust in Travis. I trust him. Dude is an absolute monster. He's going to continue to be a beast. He's matchup proof, guys. He played against some of the best linebackers in the NFL and was still able to outperform them. Number 4, Austin Hooper, as I mentioned before, had a lot of targets, had a lot of receptions, and was fantasy relevant. I don't know how consistent he's going to be as the season progresses, but he was relevant this past week. Eric Swoop, I mentioned him before also when I was talking about Andrew Luck and those garbage time points. This guy should have had an extra touchdown. He should have had 2 touchdowns. But, Eric Ebron, congratulations. Number 6, George Kittle. Continues to prove he is consistent, and he's going to continue to score. Jimmy Graham, consistent. Rob Gronkowski finally found his way. Niles Paul, as I mentioned before, because of Austin Seferian-Jenkins being out for the rest of the season on IR. And David Njoku. Goodness, this is a more consistent base. This is what we want to see. We want to see more 10-point tight ends. That's all we ask for, right? If you get that Ertz up there, congratulations. If you get that Ebron performance, you consider yourself really lucky, right? Even though Ebron is going to continue to be a great tight end for this team, he's not going to put up 27, every other week. That is a really ridiculous performance, and all things considered was fantastic for week 5. Okay, so let's talk about Let's talk about every matchup really quickly. We got, we're about 50 minutes into this. Let's talk about the matchups from week 5, shall we? All right, so on Thursday Night Football, as I mentioned before, Andrew Luck taking on Tom Brady and the Patriots in Foxborough. I mean, the Patriots look like more of a complete team. Their defense is still suspect. This coming week, they play against the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be in Foxborough, if I'm not mistaken. It's the Sunday night game. It is in Foxborough. Honestly, it's going to be fun to watch. I think that it's going to be a shootout. A lot of it's going to be very contingent on how the Patriots defense looks to try to at least try to stop Patrick Mahomes if they're capable of doing so. But the Patriots, they show that they have a lot of weapons. Josh Gordon with a touchdown. Gronkowski was able to contribute. Edelman contributing. Sony Michel had another great game. James White. Cordell Patterson with a touchdown. Chris Hogan. Dunsky. I don't know what to tell you. Chris Hogan hasn't been relevant for a couple weeks now. He's a drop at this point. And Philip Dorsett still continuing to contribute. I need some water. Give me a sec. When you talk, literally try to talk for 50 minutes straight. See what happens. You'll begin to respect me a little bit more, or at least people who sit here. I don't know how those radio people do it. They like sit for 4 hours. I understand they have breaks, but it's crazy. All right, so that was the Colts game. Other than the Patriots having themselves a good game, again, Andrew Luck has thrown the ball 120 plus times in the last 2 weeks. He's going to continue to throw the ball. He's going to continue to try to find people because this running game, it's irrelevant, right? They have no push up front. Let's talk about the Broncos and the Jets. As I mentioned before, when you can let someone run for 300 yards, it's just ridiculous, right? But I want to more specifically talk about the Broncos and the run game of the Broncos. Many of you have Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, not together, but some of you have them both on your rosters. This past week, I think Vance Joseph specifically said, I want to go. What happened? Chris Thompson with an injury. God. Anyway, Royce Freeman, Vance Joseph specifically said, I want to give Royce Freeman more touches. Where were those more touches? Dude had 5 carries compared to Phillip Lindsay's 12. I don't know. I think Royce Freeman he's not going to continue to get the ball. They're never going to be in the specific game script where they're ahead and they can run the ball consistently unless they're in a really good matchup or they have a defensive play early that gets the momentum and the juice going. As of right now, Phillip Lindsay's that number 1 RB on that team. Going forward, both these teams are not great at all, but they still are fantasy relevant. Packers versus the Lions. I mean, if you have Matthew Stafford, please don't drop him. I don't think he's worth dropping. He's too good of a quarterback to let go. As it comes to the run game of the Packers, I was very, very excited about Aaron Jones. 7 carries. I understand the game script was not on their side. When you go into the locker room down 24-0, you have to come out and you have to pass the ball. That's what they did. They threw the ball 52 times, 42 passing yards for good old Aaron Rodgers. It was just a product of the situation. It's not that Aaron Jones is not going to be given the ball. He'll be given the ball, but this was just a very good matchup for a breakout game. Just wasn't able to get there. It was very unfortunate. Just like how Sony Michel a couple weeks back, I said Sony Michel's going to be great this week against Detroit. Boom. Just because of the situation, the Patriots got behind. Sony Michel was never utilized. Just what happened to Aaron Jones this past week. 24-0 at halftime. When that kicker, man, got a lot of questions to answer, right? Giants versus the Panthers. I mean, the Panthers are a good team, right? They're going to continue to score points. The weird thing is, right? The very weird thing is, I don't know if they use Christian McCaffrey enough in the passing game. Like, he's going to touch the ball 20 times a game. Maybe they got to give him the ball more in the passing game. He's so efficient in the passing game. Maybe just feed him a couple extra times. I don't know. I'm just waiting for Greg Olsen to come back within this team. Otherwise, the Giants, Saquon Barkley, 4 receptions, 81 receiving yards. Sterling Shepard with 75 receiving yards. Russell Shepard. I mean, if Eli Manning can play like this, all of the wide receivers, at least Sterling Shepard, Odell, and Saquon, and maybe even Evan Ingram when he comes back, will be relevant. But I don't know if Eli Manning is this consistent. He's never been really this great unless he's in the playoffs and he's playing against the Patriots, right? The Bills versus the Titans. Oh, my God. I just don't get it. I don't get it. How do you just... How? Really quick, okay? I want to mention something. When I was watching this game, I continuously saw Chris Ivory being used exclusively to plunge the ball and punish defenders. Derrick Henry is such a bum, and he can't even do that. He can't even be used like Chris Ivory. Chris Ivory at this point is a better running back. Look at this. Look, Derrick Henry, 56 yards rushing, right? Fine. But Chris Ivory had 43. Like, fantasy-wise, they're literally equals. What, they're 1 point difference. I bet you Ivory caught a ball. Okay, he didn't catch a ball. But I was hoping, people, I was praying. But honestly, goodness gracious. What this running game for the... I thought the Tennessee Titans had a good offensive line. Ben Jones, Taylor Lewan, Ryan Conklin, or Jack Conklin, excuse me, Ryan. They should have a good offensive line. They are young and they're talented. What? Hello? Obviously, they're just... the Bills' defense is something else. Maybe I haven't seen enough Bills' defense, but I saw it enough this week. Also, LaShawn McCoy, if he's sitting on your waivers, guys, boom. LaShawn McCoy was good this past week. 85, I mean, he led the team with 100 total yards, all-purpose yards. Great play right there on the flex. But anyway, we're moving on. Mariota, goodness gracious. Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Falcons. The Falcons are 1-4. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Matt Ryan, I mean, he didn't play terrible, right? They just don't have an offense. They literally don't. Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman are somehow being just poached of, goal line carries from Ito Smith? The fuck is that? Literally, why? Steve Sarkisian continues to prove that he is just... Anyway, Pittsburgh Steelers played well. They literally just weren't able to be stopped. I think this coming week, the Buccaneers are going to be able to exploit this defense as well. And the Falcons are going to have maybe you're going to start 1-5. It's a possibility this head coach gets fired by the end of this year. The next game, the Browns versus the Ravens. Man, the Browns are going to tie a game again this year. They are playing it so close. They just have to keep finding themselves in the fourth quarter with the kicker that hopefully makes it. Joe Flacco, awful. Absolutely awful. The running game, the passing game, it doesn't matter. I don't understand. I just don't get it. It's just an every other week kind of thing, right? One week, the Browns' defense is absolutely terrible. The following week, they're clamping down. Literally, the Raiders put up 45 points. 45 points. Okay? On the Browns. And then they turn around and have this kind of a defensive performance. That's great coaching. They've turned their shit around, right? The Bengals and the Dolphins, like I mentioned before, when you're up 17-0 and the team reverse sweeps you 27-17 at the end of the game, your coach isn't doing something right. When you're running back, Kenyon Drake is your leading receiver, they're not doing something right. I think they said Devontae Adams is up for trade going forward this year. Good luck. He's a garbage can. The Chiefs versus the Jaguars. Let me see how many turnovers Blake Bortles had. 4 interceptions and 1 fumble. Oh, man, Blake. And guess what? Blake Bortles still scored me 20 points in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. Just the way it works. Just the way it works. Imagine. He would have had 30 points because of his 400 passing yards and his boatload. He had 34 rushing yards and a touchdown. Shit. Blake Bortles, baby. Garbage time king. Scooping it up. He's the garbage man. All right, the Chargers had themselves a game. But how about them Raiders, baby? When Andrew just thought they were going to be great this week, because the Chargers defense have given up the 10th most points to the quarterback position and the 4th most points to the wide receiver position. Andrew thought, wow, this is a great matchup. Coming off the boost of confidence from this past week, the Raiders should be great. Boom, they were garbage cans. Even Marshawn Lynch was bad. That's surprising. That's a surprise. But Jalen Richard, though, just saying. Eagles versus Vikings. I mean, hopefully the Eagles can turn it around. Wendell Smallwood is going to get the ball more, people. I'm telling you. And this, I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully Dalvin Cook comes back, because by all means, this team needs they need an opportunity that can get themselves into the red zone, and they need someone that can actually move their feet and get some yards. That's not Latavius Bum Murray, to be honest. We're almost done, people. We're almost done. My brain is starting to hurt from this fucking thing, this headset. Either way, Jared Goff turned over the ball twice. Todd Gurley scooped up 3 touchdowns. Pretty much killed all the value within that team. Robert Woods had a decent game. Cooper Kupp had a good game. If you started Brandon Cooks, I'm sorry to hear that. I am. I'm legit sorry to hear that. He will probably be out, because my dude was literally stiff, completely schlumped on the ground after he took that hit. It's not the first time he's had a concussion. Don't forget, in the Super Bowl with the Patriots last year, same thing happened to him. The Cardinals versus the 49ers. Man, the Josh Rosen Cardinals, they're moving the ball. Yes, they played against the 49ers, but they're moving the ball. David Johnson's relevant. Christian Kirk, relevant, right? Had that big touchdown. But other than that, too many defensive touchdowns. 28 points, not really going to tell you the full story. Alfred Morris, as I mentioned before, hopefully Brate is healthy. The last game I want to mention, Cowboys versus the Texans last night. Ezekiel Elliott, he needs the ball more. And by all means, the Dallas Cowboys need good receivers. I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, if they're just trying to save money because they've spent too much on their offensive life, congratulations. You put yourself in that hole, but it's not looking great for them. They lost the game they should have won. But by all means, the Texans didn't really want to win this either. They didn't have too great of a performance, especially in the red zone. Deshaun Watson, I mean, it's not even his fault. Just the play calls in the red zone were just awful, and it just didn't put him in a great situation to win the game. But they ended up pulling it out. Keemy Fairbairn with the kick, baby. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for getting me to 2,500 subs. If you've made it this far, you're one of the few that watched the full video, and I appreciate that. If you have any questions, go down in the comment section. We will have running backs and probably quarterbacks tomorrow. Obviously, my schedule's changed a little bit. You saw that Saturday we didn't have an injury video. A lot of things were going on. Just couldn't get to it. Eventually, this coming week I'll probably have it. But as of right now, we'll see. Everything's subject to change. Just trying to figure out my schedule as of right now as we go. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys. Running backs and quarterbacks tomorrow. It's going to be fun.